Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. My name is Lauren, and today I'm just going to do a video on start to finish of a painting that I did. If you follow me and follow my paintings and you're just curious how it is I get from start to finish, or if maybe you're just learning to paint and just want to kind of see how someone else does their painting. I hope you enjoy. I edited out quite a bit just to keep it not too long, so the painting took much longer than what the video did, but I do want to edit out everything in case you are trying to learn and see how someone else does something. So hope you enjoy, have a great day, and have fun in your own creating. Thank you. Warming up with a couple little paintings of Hershey's Kisses. This is the second one that I did. I'm ready to work on what might be a landscape today. I've chosen the photo that I want to start working from, but I will alter it a little bit. I'm more interested today in the blue sky and celebrating the sunny weather. So I've got a few designs on the bottom that I'm going to start with for an idea. And I need to paint, or rather I need to tape up my paper and then go from there. Right now I'm just taping the edges of my paper. I can be freer in my paint strokes by having the edges taped off. And then when I peel it off at the end, it gives it the feel of a matte and a cleaner edge. Then if I decide I want to go back to the painting, I can just retape it and have a fresh start again. This way I'll brush right over this tape with the paint. Do I know if this is going to turn out? I do not, but that's okay. Every time we do something, you don't love how it turns out. It's just something else that you learn. I'm going to start, I usually just take my colors that have already been mixed right here just to kind of block in. I just want like a little bit of a light gray. So lots of water on here to try to figure out which way. I want it to be about the tree mostly. So just kind of want to get my angle of the tree here in. It's an unusual pine tree. Just kind of figure out, and I want it to be also too, it was about just a very blue sky this day. And we've had so many gray days in Michigan that when we went to Biltmore in North Carolina, finally got to see some gray, or blue skies rather. So that's what I want it to be about, the tree. And then we'll have a little bit of other things going in. Put the road in here, and then back here there's going to be that block of trees. It's kind of a narrow painting, but it might be kind of interesting for something different. So put a little bit over here. And yes, there's always a lot of thinking time, so there's not always talking time. There was another tree back here that was very thin, farther back. So I didn't have this quite watered enough. I just want it to be very faint. So I'm going to actually take my paper towel and dry that off. I'll still have a little bit of it marked back there, but not as much. So now I need to decide what color I want my sky to be. And I've been using this small blue lately, and I really like that. So this one is Holbein G573. Bright and cherry blue. I'll probably use some white with it. But first I'll just get some of that color in here. This is just all loose when it first goes in. And we can think about it as we go along. There's some little pieces of color from that sky that was dry, so it fell on there, but that's okay. Sometimes you want your colors to be in a couple different places anyways, just to get them together. So while my first layer of paint was drying, I was working on some things to try to figure out how I want to do the actual pine tree. I'm not going to paint each little needle on here. I just want to kind of get a feeling of the type of tree it is and with its idiosyncrasies of its branches and that kind of thing. So now this is almost dry over here, and I am going to try to put in a little bit more of the blue so that when I put my tree in again, it hopefully will bleed onto there. So make sure my brush is nice and clean and get some more of that blue paint. It's gonna be a little thicker this time. I've got some white, but where that is kind of bleeding, I don't necessarily want to get rid of all of that. So we'll just kind of go over, and if some brush strokes and paper marks show through, I'm okay with that. And remember, this might, in the end, I might not like it at all, and that's okay. Sometimes that happens. Now again, this will be just a little bit too wet in order to put my tree in. Put a little bit more white there. I actually want my blue to be my lightest area, and sometimes I tend to mess that up, and I don't get quite light enough the first time around. So again, we'll let this dry just a little bit, and then I'm going to go back in with my laying out my trunk for my tree, and then we'll have to worry about this part too. But let's let this dry a bit, and then we can go back in with our tree. I'm going to start putting in my trunk. I got some black and some brown. I can add something in later, but at least I've got some darkness, and we'll see, this might still bleed. I think we'll be okay because we're going to come back over this again later. When we put some other colors on top, I think the bleeding will be exactly what we want. We can always come back over with some blue if it's bled too much, but we'll have that interesting effect right in here that will stay. And put some green on here. You can add a little bit of water and just kind of brush from there. I have a little bit drier brush here. I can just kind of flick out and get some suggestions. Helping this mix in too. And we're still at the early stages here. I know I'm going to want this blue to be lighter, so I will be later on be going back into that. There's our little tree section. Got this little road coming around. That all bled too much. Not used to talking and painting. So that's a big learning curve in itself. Put some white over this blue just to brighten this up a bit. You can mix some of that blue into the green. So it does look mixed if you look closely. And get some fresh water here and let that dry a bit before we do another layer. So I'm going to work on this part a little bit more, get some colors in there. For my green, I've got some Naples yellow and some ultramarine blue. Gonna need some more yellow, put some yellow ochre in there. I put a little yellow in before just to kind of show where some sun was coming through. And here we're just putting colors down. It doesn't necessarily mean what kind of trees they are. And I add a little bit more blue to get this a little bit darkened. Got some pink handy, so I'm going to use that just to kind of neutralize that a bit. Gray it up. Then I'll get some use the flat brush like this and get some of that yellow ochre and Naples, and hopefully this isn't too wet. Get some tree trunks going in there, some verticals. Just keeping it simple here. Gonna just brush it a little bit so it's not so detailed. Add a little bit of this Naples and kind of covered up that original yellow, but some of it, but I want to put some more in, just show where some sun is hitting. And we're going to add some of that green color up here to our actual trees. And some of what we already had gets covered up, and that's okay. We can keep going back and forth. I want to make sure some of those stay. I'm going to add a little bit more blue and that pink to kind of gray down the green, but also have it a little bit darker. Some more blue here, just so this branch shows, because it's silhouetted from the sun, so we want to show that a little bit darker over here, and I'll go back when that's more dry and get that a little better. Remember, we still want some blue to show through, so we don't want it just dark on top of the blue sky. And we can always come back in again with some more blue. So some of this is just suggestion. Again, I'm going to do what I did before, dry this brush as best I can. And then I can come through here with our new colors and kind of spread those out. Rinse it really well. Usually I have 2 things of water, so one stays really clean. Because I was going on vacation, I was trying to pack light. and only brought one, so it just means I have to change this color, this water, more often. Add a little bit more white to my palette, so when I bring in some of this blue here, it's not quite as dark. If you can get some dry brush with your colors, that gives an interesting effect. Then this is drier paint, so I will go over this once again to add some more brush strokes in here. I want this to be a little bit grayer down at the bottom where this road is coming in. And again, just want it suggested. I'll add a little bit of some spots of some blue. Now I'm going to bring some dark again for my tree trunk. I'm going back to that Payne's Gray, and that I had some brown here, and then we'll kind of dry off your brush again. I'm going to grab some of this yellow ochre here, mix it with the tree trunk. Again, it doesn't have to be a perfect cylinder coming down. Grab some Naples yellow that's a little bit lighter. And now I want to bring some darks back in, some more exact darks. I still want my green, so I'm going to get some of the blue, some more of that yellow ochre. It might not be quite green enough, but let's see. A little bit of dark at the base. I'm going to wet my brush, get that nice and clean, and then just kind of scrape over this. Okay, I'm going to let this dry for a little bit and then see if what we want to do to go back over it. But in the meantime, I'm going to pull off the tape, and it's going to get us a better idea of how it looks. You need to pull slowly depending on your paper. Some papers will tend to stick to the tape. This one is made for artwork. You can also use just a painting masking tape. I like it because it's white, but I have used other colors as well. So peel this off. Sometimes I even look at this for a day or so before I decide if it's what I want. So I'll put it somewhere so that I can sit and stare at it or glance at it each time I go past and see what I might like about it. Keep in my head what I might want to change, and then even make some notes, because in case it's a day or two before I go to bed, back to it. So I know I'm going to want to lighten up the sky in a few places just so that there's some more differences in the values, and then probably define a few more of the branches on this tree, maybe a little bit more darks here on this one side of the branch, and then go from there. So while I let this dry, I took a walk just to get away from it for a bit and come back with some fresh eyes. Got some fresh water. My colors are still here. And some of the bigger blobs still have paint that will work so I can get it nice and opaque. We're just going to add a few more little lines. I've put the tape back up so that way if I go over the edge, it's not going to matter, and I can pull that off again. Get some more with a little bit more yellow green here. You don't want every color to be identical, so just kind of dip your brush in the paint and get some different colors going. I'm going to put a little bit more of this color I just put up there down here. And I think we're about good. Remember, everything we do, we're not going to love, but it's a learning experience. Sometimes I'll take the same picture, do it almost the same way, and just get a little bit different feel. Sometimes it's the first one that feels better. Sometimes it's the second or third one. Good way to practice. Some artists that have been working a long time still have problems from talking with them where they're not always sure. I can guide you to some. Every time it looks like a masterpiece right from the start. So have fun creating, and I hope you have some good luck.